is with LeBron James, who just completed his third consecutive 40-plus minute game for the Lakers' sixth consecutive win, their third straight win in overtime. And last night, LeBron ended the game about how you would expect. He hit the game-tying three in regulation, had the game-winning assist, and then the game-sealing steal in overtime. You know, old hat for the greatest player anyone has ever seen. But that is not really the story today. The story today is, are they overusing LeBron? Just this week, we heard about Steph Curry, who is basically a full college class younger than LeBron. His coach saying, we don't want to wear Steph out. We are in the era of load management, of minute restrictions. We came into this season discussing LeBron, shortest offseason ever. Year 15, he plays all 82. Year 16, he switches teams, suffers his one and only injury. More on that in a moment. Year 17, the odd season. They win a championship, the very abbreviated offseason. If there was ever a time where LeBron James would load manage for really the first time in his career, it would be this year. Instead, he is currently fourth in the NBA in minutes, 3 minutes shy of second overall in the NBA in minutes. Only Julius Randle has played a substantially more amount of minutes than LeBron of every player in the league. And you have to go all the way down to Chris Paul, who is 52nd in the league in minutes, to find any player even close to LeBron's age in the top 100 in minute as far as minutes played. So should you worry about LeBron wearing down? Are the Lakers overusing LeBron? The answer to that question for every other player in league history would be yes. For LeBron, it is no, and that, my friends, is his actual superpower. We can have the GOAT debate, but we don't need to. That is, to me, a matter of fact, but many people would argue it is a matter of opinion. And if you want to say who is the most decorated player of all time, that's actually Kareem. Who is the one with the most championships? That's obviously Russell. So LeBron and MJ don't check either one of those boxes. It's a matter of taste. And I think LeBron has proven who has the superior taste, but that's neither here nor there. What is undeniable is this. LeBron's superpower, his greatest ability, is his durability, his reliability, and his availability. And it is something that the entire league has been able to witness, yet so few choose to mimic. I'm going to take you back to a quote from Kevin Durant 3 years ago. Kevin Durant, when he was doing that series of podcasts with Bill Simmons, there was a very interesting moment where they're talking about him versus LeBron. And he said this not as a shot at LeBron, but almost as a, well, it's not how I want to do things. Quote, LeBron takes care of his body like nobody I've ever seen. Now, here's the important part. Quote, I'd rather work on my skills than hop in the weight room every single day. I'd rather work on my skills than hop in the weight room every single day. That's how I'm different than LeBron. He's more bruiser. I understand that and I respect that. It's hard to take care of your body every day. Professionals really have to do that, end quote. Now, LeBron obviously also works on his skills. You can't finish as the NBA's all-time leading scorer and third most assists and the most minutes and all those things that he will finish as if you don't work on your skills. You can't shoot a career high from three, right around KD's three-point percentage, if we're being honest, 40% this year, if you're not working on your skills. But KD was right. Most guys would rather spend time practicing their handle, of which there's a lot of guys with a better handle than LeBron. Spend time working on their shot, of which there's a lot of guys with a better shot than LeBron. Then spend time working on their body. But what seemingly the rest of the league doesn't understand is none of those things matter without the base. The base being, how well do you hold up? How healthy are you? How available are you? How reliable are you? And how durable are you? And that is where LeBron James is not only the greatest basketball player ever, but the greatest athlete we have ever seen. And there is not a close second. And you can't say, well, it's technology and it's science has evolved and these other guys would have. We know that even if Michael, for instance, had access to this technology, this science, the hyperbaric chambers, he still would not have taken advantage of it the way LeBron has. How do we know it? Because we know what Michael was doing when he wasn't playing ball. And more power to him, but he was golfing and smoking cigars and staying up all night playing cards. It's part of his legend, but the idea that, well, if he was just 20 years later, he'd be getting treatment through the night, no. 20 years later, maybe it would have been online poker instead of in-person poker, but it still would have been poker. It still would have been golf. It still would have been cigars. This is not only LeBron's superpower. This is not only what makes him not just the most valuable player this year, but the most valuable player for whatever team he's on the league has ever seen. This is also what every team he's ever been on has known they can lean on. His first go-around with the Cavs, go look. What did he average over those 7 years with the Cavs in the playoffs? 44 minutes per game. 44 minutes per game over his entire the first 7 years of his career in the postseason. Then he goes to Miami. And what does Miami do his final year there? They load manage Dwayne Wade because they know LeBron is going to be available. Then he goes back to Cleveland. And what happens his last year there when the team's a mess, when the multiple trips to the finals have worn on Ty Lue, they've worn on Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving is gone. Hey, LeBron, can you just play all 82? Can you play more regular season and more postseason minutes than any player in the league? And what are the Lakers doing? Now in LeBron's 18th year, they are being cautious with Anthony Davis because they know they can lean on the most durable, the most available, the most reliable athlete any of us have ever seen in LeBron James. And at this point, we are numb to the minutes. But if we could show the minutes just for a moment before I talk about the importance of this week, because the minutes are noteworthy not only because he's now at 25%. He's played 125% of the total minutes that Jordan did in his whole career, but because of the other names on this list. So look at the guys right behind LeBron. The late, great Kobe Bryant, the incomparable Dirk Nowitzki, and the greatest power forward ever, Tim Duncan. Think about what all of those guys looked like their final seasons in the league, once they were up above 55,000 minutes. Tim Duncan was a role player at best. Dirk Nowitzki was a guy who was almost more coach than player, and Kobe was having the first truly inefficient season since his rookie year. It gets a little hazy because of the 60-point game, but once Kobe got above 55,000 minutes, once Dirk got above 55,000 minutes, once Duncan got above 55,000 minutes, not only were they no longer stars, they were barely starters. LeBron is just north of 60,000 and is unquestionably and clearly the best player in the league. And why does it matter other than legacy, other than when we're talking about what guys can and can't do? Why does a week where LeBron plays 3 straight overtime games, and the most recent one ties the game in regulation with a 3, assists for the game-winning 3, and then gets a steal to ice the game? Remember this week at the end of the season, when the Lakers are the 1 seed by 2 games over the Clippers and by 3 games over Utah, and when in the first round of the playoffs, the Clippers are having to deal with the Warriors, and Utah is having to deal with the Nuggets, the Blazers, whomever the 6th seed is, and the Lakers are playing the Spurs or the Kings or the one-way Mavericks. Remember, this week was the difference. These overtime games, These 40-minute performances, the last two of which with Anthony Davis resting and getting healthy for the postseason. And when the Lakers are in the NBA Finals against the Sixers or against the Bucks or maybe somehow, some way against the Nets, and the Lakers have home court advantage and fans are back in stadiums, remember, this sleepy week in February when the most reliable player in sports history carried his team to overtime wins against bad teams that very easily could have been regulation losses against bad teams that could have been the difference between the 1 seed and the 2 seed, the 2 seed and the 3 seed, going to Milwaukee for a game 1 or having that in Staples, going to Philadelphia for a game 5 or having that in Staples. Just remember this Super Bowl week when the Lakers won 3 straight overtime games and when the oldest, damn near the oldest player in the league showed you he's still not only the best player, but the most durable and reliable player in the league. Speaking of a durable and reliable player, Russell Wilson.